In celebration of the release of Doki Doki Literature Club Plus's release, I wanted to dedicate a video to this game. Doki Doki Literature Club changed my life forever. No, not Dragon Ball, which my name is based after. Not Future Diary, which my name is also based after. This game, about 4 cute girls in a literature club, is the one. I even have it set as my favorite game on Steam, and have bought the recently released Doki Doki Literature Club expansion twice, digitally and physically, and have gotten trophies on every PlayStation version of the game. But how is that possible? Well, if you care to know, then join me on this long expedition of memories and feelings I did not know were possible for video games to invoke. Let's start slow for the uninitiated. Some games come and go, and some stick in the mind longer than others. Resident Evil Village is an amazing horror game with incredible replayability. Saints Row III is a balls-to-the-wall action thriller focused on insane gameplay. Doki Doki, on the other hand, is something completely different. It's a visual novel. Doki Doki Literature Club is a game where you join a literature club, what a shocker, and write poems to try to write the way into the heart of your favorite girl. How could something so unbelievably basic be so impactful? Well, that is where you cannot judge a book by its cover. This game is absolutely horrifying to some people, myself included. When you think of a visual novel, you're thinking of a rigid structured game where you're in full control. You decide what happens with your choices, and you decide who you get with, who lives, etc. What does Doki Doki think about that? You progress through the first act as if everything is normal. You're bonding with your club, you're writing poems, and you're learning about the characters. Even this section is hard to handle though, with the truth about your childhood friend, Sayori, having severe depression and showing suicidal tendencies being revealed, and later confirmed in the side stories released in Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. As if this wasn't enough, the very next scene takes everything you thought you knew about this game and drops it on its head. With the simple text, "I gently open the door," you know something horrific is in store. You see Sayori, your best friend, who wanted nothing to be happy, to love you, and to make the literature club happy, dangling from the roof with a rope around her neck as the game begins to corrupt itself. Maybe you just got a bad ending, you think to yourself? This could not possibly be what was meant to happen, right? You start a new game, and now your best friend has ceased to exist, and now everyone thinks it's completely normal. What the hell is going on, you probably ponder to yourself. Well, this is just the beginning. Act 2 has you progress through the same story, minus Sayori of course, but everything is broken. The game is glitching, the notes and the music are off, and there's this intense atmosphere that makes the room feel heavy. And then you notice that the club members aren't acting usual either. Yuri is more anxious, panicky, and obsessive. Natsuki is more or less the same, acting as a tsundere. Monika seems the exact same too at first, but something is off. As you progress and more glitches happen, it becomes apparent that Monika is hiding something. She's aware of the glitches while the others are not. How is that possible? Is she not just a programmed AI meant to go along with what the game says? You feel uneasy. You are alone in the club room with Yuri, and she's acting strange. She eventually confesses her love to you in a very unsettling way. Yes or no? You ponder. Well, as if it could not get any worse, Yuri, the timid bookworm who seemed gentle as a fly, pulls out a knife and starts stabbing herself to death, and you are forced to watch. She falls to the floor, and you are left to stare at the consequences of her actions. At this point, if there was any doubt that something was wrong, it has left you, as you were forced to watch Yuri for the entire weekend as her body gets colder. Natsuki walks in, pukes everywhere, and storms out. Monika walks in, but acts completely opposite of what you would expect. Your suspicions are confirmed. Monika was the one behind all of this. Yuri's suicide, Sayori's suicide, and all of the bugs. But why? Monika traps you in a club room, which is seemingly floating in an empty void of brokenness. She hides nothing here, and she freely breaks the fourth wall. She talks about how her breakthrough with learning she was an AI, and that her friends had no free will. She makes you vow to love her forever and spend eternity with her. After that, she will talk endlessly about various topics, including the death of your friends. You can either grant her wish and stay there forever, or delete her character file. To advance the story, there's only one choice. After deleting her character file, she will lash at you for being horrible and ruining the game. Thinking this is how the game ends, she comes back and learns that everything she has done was wrong, and confesses she still loves you, the player. At this point, if you were like me, you probably did not know how to feel and were just shocked at the game. She restarts the game, but now she is nowhere to be found, and Sayori is back, and everything seems normal? Eventually, Sayori says she knew you were coming, but it wasn't because you were her closest friend and it was obvious. It's because she is the president now and knows everything. She knows what Monica did, and she is now trying to repeat the same thing. Monica intervenes and puts an end to the game once and for all. As the credits begin to roll, you hear an overwhelmingly cute voice. It's Monica, and she's singing a song for you. At this point, if you're like me, you're probably in a never-ending well of despair after it's over. You read Monica's last poem with grief. This is my final goodbye to the Literature Club. I finally understand. The Literature Club is truly a place where no happiness can be found. To the very end, it continued to expose innocent minds to a horrific reality. A reality that our world is not designed to comprehend. I can't let any of my friends undergo that same hellish epiphany. For the time it lasted, I want to thank you. For making all of my dreams come true. For being a friend to all of the club members. And most of all, thank you for being a part of my literature club. With everlasting love, Monica. And with that said, the game closes. For many years, that's where the story ends, and technically it still is, with that heart-wrenching ending. However, with the release of Doki Doki Literature Club Plus on June 30th, 2021, it added a lot of lore to the members of the club and how they met. These are called side stories, and show how each member coped with their problems to become a tight-knit group of literature-loving friends. But, knowing the nature of the main game, I think I would have rather not have known. The one with Monica and Sayori, aptly labeled Trust, shows how Sayori is struggling with depression and hints of suicidal behavior, and how Monica struggles with being a perfectionist who can't bring herself to be vulnerable. As Sayori tells Monica all of her issues, they share a tight embrace. Sayori brokenly cries in Monica's arms about how she feels worthless, doesn't want people to worry, and wants to die for talking about it. Monica, with great composure, lends Sayori words of encouragement. As the two begin to learn more about each other, they start to form an unbreakable bond. Immediately after they finish, and Sayori calms down, Yuri walks in. This side story, labeled Understanding, shows Yuri's hatred for herself and how Sayori, just as Monica did for her, helps her through it to accept herself a little better. As she continues to keep trying hard for Yuri by reading her complex books of fantasy, Yuri eventually lashes out and breaks down, dropping to the floor. Sayori, with great compassion and understanding, embraces Yuri and waits for her to talk about her feelings when she's ready. Yuri believes that she's just too weird for anyone to like for who she is, so when someone is nice to her and takes up her hobbies, she feels pitied. She hates that feeling and feels like Sayori is doing that exact thing. Sayori, softly, explains that she really does enjoy reading the book and spending time with her. After a while, Yuri calms down and even starts smiling. They stand up, no doubt, onto greener pastures. Following Understanding comes Respect. This one focuses on Natsuki, the new member of the Literature Club, and Monica, who finds it hard to respect Natsuki's taste in literature. Monica feels Natsuki has no respect for the club, and uses it as a place to goof off and do nothing besides read manga. After the two have a fickle, Natsuki storms out, and Monica begins to realize that she was in the wrong. She had failed to realize that she was judging her and making her feel unwelcome just because she didn't see manga as a real form of literature. The next day, after some conversing and reading one of Natsuki's mangas, she takes her to the piano room. Natsuki's manga had inspired Monica to begin playing the keyboard, and she wanted to show Natsuki. This moment makes them greatly respect each other and accept each other's differences as they make each other feel valid. The next side story, Balance, is about Sayori and her mission to become best friends with Natsuki. She decides the best approach is to talk to her all the time and every chance she gets. Everything seems well at first, but Natsuki has to admit that she feels smothered and sometimes wants some time alone. One day, during lunchtime, Sayori calls out for Natsuki as she is with her friends. Natsuki runs away, leaving Sayori feeling sad and betrayed. The next day, both of them have the same thought in their head, that the other person is upset with them, so they spend the day alone. Once the day is done, Natsuki stops Sayori in the hallway to give her a poem. Sayori is surprised, since she said she hated writing poems. She explains that she wanted to make up for the moment in lunch, and wanted to become friends, but needed balance. They now understand each other much greater. After Balance comes Reflection. This one focuses on both Yuri and Natsuki's complete opposite personalities, as well as Yuri and Monika working together to get past this dilemma. As Yuri and Natsuki begin arguing about which one is more edgy, more sophisticated, more deep, etc., it feels like there can never be common ground between them and that they will look down upon each other indefinitely. They both admit that they bring out the worst in each other, and Yuri also admits that she wants to get past this so everyone in the club can be happy and welcomed. Monika and Yuri sit down in a classroom together and brainstorm a note for Yuri to give to Natsuki. She wants Natsuki to understand that she doesn't want it to be this way, but doesn't quite know how to. This side story is really great because not only does it show growth in Yuri, but it finally shows a real bonding moment between Monika and Yuri, something that has been absent thus far. Monika, after Yuri finishes the note, agrees to be the one to deliver it to Natsuki since Yuri is too shy. The penultimate story, Self-Love, shows how Natsuki and Yuri were really not so different after all deep down. They just have different ways of showing it. They begin spending time alone during lunch and get to know each other better. They still have some small moments of conflict, but they are becoming much more understanding of each other. It is revealed that Natsuki is unhappy with her relationship with her friends and is afraid of ending it. She feels it's easier to be comfortably unhappy than to do something scary. Yuri sympathizes. Later, on a different day, Natsuki starts breaking down, revealing that she had finally ended it with her old friends and starts having a panic attack. Yuri, having experience with this, puts her through breathing exercises and puts her palms on her shoulders to keep her steady. After she calms down, they sit together for a while and talk. Natsuki says she's going to start dragging her around now, and Yuri is happy to oblige. With that, these two opposites become closer than ever, something that wasn't seeming possible beforehand. The final side story, labeled Equals, is a recap of everything the club has learned. Sayori talks about her experience with befriending everyone and having trust. Yuri talks about having been anxious to join the club, but everyone's understanding made her stay. Monika reflects on how she treated Natsuki and how she learned to respect people's differing opinions. Natsuki thinks back on how she ended the friendship with her old group, and how the club helped her accept her feelings and get on a path of self-love. They write all of these key words on the chalkboard, which happen to be the names of the side stories. After a wholesome selfie, they then get to work on their poems. Monika says her memorable line, "Just move your hand right the way into your heart." And then that concludes the side stories.
Oh my god, dude, that is so fucking.
But realizes the only way to make things right is to delete everything. She breaks the game so no one has to suffer anymore. Makoto, the Persona 3 protagonist, and Monika, while having different struggles, have the same sort of redemption. They both realize their errors and do what must be done to resolve the issues at hand. There are a lot of songs out there that could perfectly be a theme for Doki Doki Literature Club. I like to use the song Back to the Roots by Secrets as my music comparison. I feel like every single line could be applied, but I'll focus on a single one. The opening of the song includes the lines, "All the damage has been done, no sense wondering who went wrong, no point trading battle scars, either way I suffered way too long." I think this can accurately describe Monika's thought process of being a sentient AI, and could also be applied to Sayori if you really wanted to. She feels so damaged and has had enough. She doesn't care what's happened. Her only objective is to be with the player. It drives her to madness. You could sit here and find millions of comparisons, I'm certain of that, but these are a few personal ones I like to bring up. I feel like they accurately describe the themes of Doki Doki Literature Club and what it was going for. So with that being said, let's move on to something a little more personal. I think Doki Doki Literature Club is a truly special game. It broke the mold and did something completely different that I had never seen before, and it completely changed my perspective on how video games could tell a story and deliver a message. But the question still remains, why did it change my life? Sure, the game is completely different, but a lot of games have completely unique gameplay elements and storytelling. What Remains of Edith Finch, Journey, and so many other games have unique elements, so why this game? It's because these characters mean the world to me. I still have a Sayori keychain that I take with me everywhere I go that I've had since like 2017. Yuri, Monika, Sayori, Natsuki, all of these girls I feel like embody a piece of me that I could relate to. Yuri's timidness and awkwardness around people, Monika's thought process of needing to be perfect, Natsuki's anger when something doesn't go her way, and Sayori's, well, her everything in a way. With this in mind, as I saw them all go through hell in the game, it was like seeing a piece of me getting destroyed right in front of me. This game also gives me a weird nostalgic feeling. It feels like I know these characters personally and have been friends with them my entire life. It gives me these weird feelings and images in my head, and I can never quite determine why. I imagine lying in a field of the most beautiful lilac flowers you've ever seen, the sun beaming on my skin as a cool summer breeze washes over me. I feel as though the characters are lying next to me, not there physically, but spiritually. Maybe this sounds unhealthy, but I promise it's nothing like that. I do not obsess over these characters, anymore at least, but I have to be completely honest with how this game makes me feel, even if I can't explain it well. When I played Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, and saw these characters I cherished with all of my heart finally being happy and growing together, I was ecstatic. Finally seeing Sayori be open with her depression, seeing Monika admit she cannot be perfect, seeing Natsuki overcome her fears of leaving behind her past friends and trying to be the best, and seeing Yuri become understanding of herself. It was all absolutely incredible. But then you remember the main game, and it makes you feel even worse because they went through all of this struggle to understand each other and grow, only for the cruel reality of the literature club to be revealed. Something about this is so unbelievably gut-wrenching. And the music they made, especially the track titled Dusk, encapsulates this feeling so well. It feels empty, and it makes you feel an immense feeling of dread, but a faint glint of hope as well. As if you could change the world, but not without losing a piece of yourself in the process. As for my opinion on the side stories, the Monika and Sayori one hits pretty close for me. I think like Sayori and Monika a lot, and I'm not going to go much further than that. Seeing these two characters who I love dearly come together to work on their differences is just magical. When I see Sayori crying, I see an internal version of myself doing the same. It makes me feel like I'm not alone. In fact, when I recorded the side story for this video, I almost cried again. Well, I mean that can be applied to every side story actually, so that doesn't really count. The Sayori and Yuri one is a similar case. I truly adore Yuri, as she is my favorite character in the game. To this day, I'm not really good with people, and I feel the same way as her. I feel like a lot of people just think I'm weird. I don't think they take pity on me, rather no one bothers to try to involve themselves with me in the first place. So when Sayori, the one I relate to just as much as Yuri, comforts her and listens to her problems, it just feels nice. Seeing someone who has a similar problem to me being accepted for who they are, it makes me yearn for the same kind of affection. The Monika and Natsuki one isn't as impactful to me personally, but it does teach a valuable lesson. You have to be really careful with the things you say and the actions you take. If you do not, then you could cause a conflict for no reason. It also teaches you to keep your horizons broadened and give other forms of entertainment and literature a chance, because it just might change your life or perspective. The Sayori and Natsuki one is important as well. When making a friend, you have to learn to have a balance. If you constantly hang out and don't have time alone, or don't let them talk to you first, or vice versa, it can lead to the friendship being completely destroyed or dampened. There needs to be communication for both parties' boundaries and needs. Monika and Yuri's side story is just flat out wholesome. Yuri, after getting into it with Natsuki, wants to remedy her mistake and become friends with her so that the literature club can be a happy place for everyone. The two of them sit together and brainstorm a letter that Yuri can send to Natsuki. She tries really hard to do so, and Monika's helpfulness and sympathy gives Yuri the strength to do what she was scared of. There's even a scene where Yuri starts laughing, which is quite rare to see, unfortunately. It made my heart stop. Having someone to support you in hard times is something I crave, and this satisfied that. The penultimate side story with Yuri and Natsuki made my heart ache for all of the good reasons. Natsuki is revealed to be very unhappy with her current group of friends, but is afraid to do anything about it. Yuri, day by day, supports her by listening, speaking, and just spending time with her. It paints a bigger picture and shows how they are very similar deep down. After Natsuki ends her old friendship and has a panic attack, Yuri helps her through it. The amount of patience and care the two girls have for each other at this point is incredibly powerful. It put me on the verge of tears the entire time. The finale, where everyone reminisces at the club's progress so far, really puts everything into perspective. Everyone trusts each other now, and they all love each other. I genuinely wish, more than anything, that everyone could experience something like that. After the end of the side stories, I didn't really know how to feel. I really can't quite explain this game's impact on me. I could talk hours and hours about it. You may recall a video on my channel called Why Metal Gear Solid 2 is the greatest game of all time, and why I still believe that, there is one title I cannot give it, the title of Most Emotional Game of All Time. This game in its very core is something I cannot describe with words. To this day, when I see the scenes, the music, it makes me get to the verge of tears and I have to keep myself from crying. The new side stories really made me realize this. No other game I have played in almost my 18 years of being alive has stuck with me this long. Persona 3 doesn't even come close, and that game destroyed me when I first played it. To make a confession, not every experience I had with this game was entirely positive, and it's not the game's fault. I used to go by the name of Lovely Yandere online. I used this for everything, including Reddit, Discord, etc. I was your typical edgy teenager. I got in trouble a lot and craved attention. I did a lot of stupid things, said a lot of stupid things, and was in an extremely bad mindset. I would hurt myself in various ways. I always felt alone at school, despite being surrounded by a group of people. This was all around 7th or 8th grade, when I initially played the game. I was obsessed. I saved thousands of pictures, lurked the Reddit all the time, and thought about it 24/7, along with other unhealthy things. Once I hit freshman year, got into a relationship, and experienced my first breakup, this was the turning point of my life. I thought about how much time I wasted and how much energy I put into the wrong things. I had to make a change and get my head into a better space. I started working out, lifting weights, and eating better. I was 227 pounds and considered obese at that point. Today, I am a 17-and-a-half-year-old, 166-pound senior who can run miles on end with no brakes and lift heavy-ass weights. I suppose this on its own explains why I have such a deep emotional connection with this game. It was always on my mind, and it was still on my mind as I transformed myself into a completely different person. Even today, I still think about the characters and story quite often, but not in the same vein. I think fondly of it, and despite the sadness I feel when I do so, it's not so bad anymore. It shows how much I have grown as a person. I still have a lot of growing up and maturing to do, and things in life I need to do before I go. I realize that. Who knows how long we'll be alive for, so I need to make the most of it. It's a cruel reality to think about it that way, but it is a scenario that has to be considered. Maybe that's what pushed me to make this video in the first place. I still struggle with anxiety and things like that to this day. Even after growing so much, learning many things, and becoming much healthier physically, it takes so much effort for me to do the things I love doing, like making videos, recording videos like this, or even watching a show like Dragon Ball, which I absolutely adore. I may never quite understand myself, or other people, and I don't know if I'll ever be truly happy. This game is what made me realize that. But is that really something to hate myself over? I cannot help the fact that I am this way. It's a culmination of the experiences of my life and something I can't quite control. What I can't control, however, is my sheer determination to make a change. I will keep fighting for a better future for myself until the day my heart stops. I would punch my way through the thickest of coffins to see the light on the other side before it's too late. Without Doki Doki Literature Club, I would not be the same person. I do not want to think of where I would be. This game indirectly and directly completely changed my life. I want to say thank you. Thank you, Dan Salvato, Serenity Forge, Team Salvato, Sagely, and anyone else who had a part in creating this incredible experience. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for bringing this game back and letting me relive my past for a moment. I am truly blessed to have stumbled upon this game. Without it, I would not be who I am today. Thank you. I would like to give a sincere thank you to everyone who made it to the end of this video. This is by far the biggest video I've ever worked on, and probably the most effort I've put into anything in my entire life. Maybe not, but it's up there, I'd say, and it's definitely one of the most important things I've made. So, with that being said, please like, comment, subscribe, share this with a friend. This video means the absolute world to me, so if anybody feels the same way about this game like I do, you know, please get the message out there. But Please stay healthy, and remember, guys, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So stay healthy, my friends. Peace.